Hi guys, Sandra here from createinspain. Thank you for joining me today. I have something exciting. I had a parcel delivered today. Now, let me tell you why this is particularly exciting. Firstly, because I know what's inside. But secondly, because it's a Saturday and the Createinspain Express actually delivered something on a Saturday in Spain. Now, for those of you who don't live in Spain, or maybe live in Madrid or something like that, which I don't, we don't normally get Saturday deliveries. No, it just doesn't happen. Right, I'm just going to throw that on the floor. I have some Jacquard, I presume you pronounce it with a soft J, Lumiere paints. This set cost me just over 20 euros, I think it was, on Amazon. This is what they call their Exciter pack, which is basically a selection of small bottles of the colour. Now, because I happen to want to use them in an airbrush, these are going to last a long time. If you're using airbrushes for craft use, unless you're doing very large items, you don't go through a lot of paint at all. So according to this, there are 9 gorgeous metallic and pearlescent colours, a great introduction to this beautiful light-bodied paint, super soft feel on untreated fabric, leather, silk, paper and wood. Now, it only says those things on there. I just looked on the website and apparently you can use them on plastics and other surfaces as well. And in fact, on the back of here, they've got a picture showing it on tile. So tile, silk, canvas and, of all things, gourds. It would not have occurred to me to paint gourds. I've got the heavy duty scissors because, generally speaking, that's about the only way we're going to do it. So, oh, even then the plastic's tough. I mean, I know it does mean that at least things get to you without breaking, but there we go. Oh, that's my workout for the morning. Right, let's see if I can get into this without scratching myself to pieces. Okay, I've managed to cut the instructions while I was at it. Oh, the back pops off. I am so used to these things not actually opening. I didn't even think to see if it could open. Oh. Okay, not my finest hour. Oh, they've stuck the paints to the instructions. Does that seem like a very sensible idea to you? Okay, at least these come off relatively easy, it's not too drastic. It's just tacky tape there. I was thinking, please don't let it stay on there permanently. Okay. So, Lumiere can be used with Jacquard's Dynaflow textile colour and airbrush colours, and 25% water for airbrushing. It's got a piece on fixing the colour with an iron. Before painting on any material, always make sure the fabric is clean and free of any sizing. When you intend to wash a painted fabric, it's best to start with clean fibres. This ensures that paint will stick to the fibres and not just stand on top. As always, best when trying a new surface, do a small test piece from start to finish. You can actually paint on the top pile of velvet. For tiles, use Lumiere only for a decorative look. Obviously you couldn't use it for something you're going to physically use. Paint adhesion is best on unglazed tile or terracotta. So in other words, not the sort of white tile that I use to put my paints on. Other than that, it has a list of all the colours that you can get. It's available in 32 colours. This one is Sunset Gold. I have Pewter, so that's a dark silver. This one is Metallic Russet, so it's a pinky, reddy metallic. This one is Pearlescent Magenta. Ooh, I like Pearlescent Magenta. This one is Pearlescent Turquoise. Again, I can see that being a favourite. Pearlescent Emerald, and this is Halo Blue Gold. So it has a combination of those elements in it, and halo colours are usually really, really nice. This one is Halo Violet Gold, and this one is Halo Pink Gold. Nice. The airbrush I'm going to try with this is this one here. This is a cheapy airbrush purchased online, and this is supposed to be for makeup. The reason I'm using this one is because this is a very low powered desktop version that if you're not into airbrushing, you might consider getting yourself something like this, because they're not that expensive, they don't make a lot of noise, they don't take a lot of space. There we go, that's what it sounds like. Whereas I have a larger compressor, but that is not as convenient as having a desktop. I'm going to use probably my least favourite colour, because this is a green, and I'm generally not a green fan. Okay, that is not going to go through the airbrush as it is. It's actually rather a nice green, but it would need to be diluted. To go through an airbrush, it needs to be the consistency of something like milk, skimmed milk, and that is a little bit too thick. One thing worth noticing is that they do have nice dropper tops. Once these bottles are finished, I will be saving the bottles because these bottles are always handy. So anyway, that's a green. I'll do some colour swatches since we're here. Let me zoom in a bit. Alright, so this one is the pewter. As I said, a dark silver colour. This is the russet. I'm not convinced that shaking these bottles will do much good, because if it's not got anything to rattle around in it, it probably isn't going to actually move the paint a lot. So I can't see anything in the bottom. I mean, it could have, but I can't see anything. So this one is the turquoise. Oh, that is gorgeous. These colours do look really nice. I mean, even the green one is a really pretty green, and I'm not a green fan. What's this one? The sunset gold, pearlescent magenta. Now, I believe they sell these paints in 2 other pot sizes, so I will leave some details. I'll put some links to them underneath in the info. I think, however, this is really good, and if you're doing card making, you don't use a heck of a lot of paint. And I think that quite often you're tempted to buy a larger pot of paint than you really need. And then at the end of the day, if you don't use it, it dries up and it's no use to anyone. You just wasted your money. There we are. Ooh, I love these colours. These are absolutely gorgeous. Right. Now, I mean, I'm quite happy to pay €20 for that amount of colour, because it's going to last me a very long time. So this is the violet gold, and I can see the gold flecks in there. I'll pull it out a lot, and then maybe it will show up more as it dries. Sometimes these things are really hard to pick up on camera. So this one was the blue gold. Yeah, I can definitely see that. Really, really lovely colour. And this one must be this one is the pink gold, which is a pretty accurate description actually. It looks like it's pink, but it's gold at the same time. So again, really, really pretty. The darker silver. That is definitely a pewter. Most definitely pewter, that one. It's just got some splashes on here. And that was the first one I did, the green, that I said I don't normally like greens, but it's a very, very nice green. I have to confess, it is a nice green. And so this one is the coppery colour, isn't it? Metallic Russet. Oh, that turquoise is heavenly. I didn't put down a very big paint swatch on that. Gold, really, really nice. I could imagine these being really nice if you're into calligraphy too. And the, was it fuchsia or magenta? That's what it's called, magenta. Right, so those are the colour swatches. I don't know if you can really get the detail of the colour in there. But yes, these three are interference colours. So in some light it'll pick up the gold and in other lights it won't. Right, now I've got a stencil that I've cut out. It's one of a whole set of envelope style ones that I'm doing. And I cut this as a stencil because I want to do the airbrushing, obviously. And I've cut it out in black card so that you can actually see the stencil and you can see what results I'm getting, because if I did it in normal clear plastic, it's really, really hard for anyone to see it on camera. Check that my airbrush is working and putting out water. So I'm just going to switch it on. This is a single action airbrush, so it's got air coming out automatically even though I'm not touching it. And then when I pull back on the trigger, the water or the paint will come out. And yes, it is coming out, so it's working. Now this thing only has 2 speeds, and that's the other one. And to be honest, I'm not sure there's much difference between either of them. So I'm going to turn that off for a minute. And I'm going to put a couple of drops of water in here. So I'm just going to put in 1, 2 drops of paint, and this one is the metallic russet. Now to mix it, what you do is you hold your finger over the top, switch it off, finger over the top and pull back, and it bubbles in the well. Take some tissue, start spraying. It did spray out, so I'm going to just half fill that. I'm going to put some pink in, I think. Let's put that in the holder a second. Three drops of pink. Just place the cap on. There we go. Spray out, it's coming out pink. There we go. Now, if you go closer, you get bigger droplets, which you probably don't really want to do because it tends to make the paint run when it's quite thin. And I have made this pretty thin, but at least it's coming out. I'd rather do more coats than have the paint too thick and have it drying on the tip. There we go, so I have pink. I'm just going to do a bit of pink there, and stripes of pink. To get rid of colour, you can either just dump it out at the top, like that. You can spray that into tissue, or if you're like me, I have a container which is designed for such things, which is this thing, and you simply put the brush in there, pull back to empty it out. If you want to make sure it's clean inside, rinse it out with water first before you add the next colour. But for example, if I was going to go from pink to blue, I would get purple in between. I'd probably be quite happy with that. I'm going to go for the Halo Blue Gold. Now again, I'm going to put a couple of drops in. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 drops. And I'm just going to put in 1 drop of this. I shall put in 2. There we are. Be generous. 2 drops. Finger, or you can use a tissue on the end if you don't want to use your finger. Pull back to make it bubble. Check what you're going to get. Oh yeah. I think that is gorgeous, and I didn't even do too bad a job getting it centred. A little bit on the low side just there, but from side to side not too bad. But I think that's a really nice effect. Now it's a little bit blurred because I didn't use any adhesive on the back of my stencil. To clean out your airbrush at the end of your session, empty out as much from the pot as you possibly can. Give it a little bit of white, blow some air through. I've just got plain water in this container, so I'm just going to put that in there. I'm going to take a clean piece of paper towel so I can see whether I am getting clean water out or paint water. As you can see at the moment it's paint, and it's getting less and less paint as I go through. Bubble it up. You can see all that paint coming out of there. More water. Empty it out. It's particularly important if you have an acrylic or a bigger particle paint that you get the particles out of it, because otherwise when you next go to use your airbrush, it's going to be bunged up and it's not going to work. I'm going to have to do it before you use it again. And it will take more effort to clean it. Now this water is coming out pretty clean. You can also use a cotton bud and wipe out the inside. You can even, if you turn it off, pull back the needle first, cotton bud in there and gently rotate to clean out this area here. Don't do it with the needle still pointing out, because you'll get fluff on your needle, and that you don't want. Take it from me, you definitely don't want. So now that it's almost cleaned out completely, I'm getting clean water out when I spray. So I think that's clean. There we go. Bit more bubbling. Empty out. Yeah, that's pretty clean. Now the other thing that you might have to do is, you can on odd occasion, if you need to, get at the needle tip. You can take off this end piece. I advise, don't do what I do what I say. Putting a towel or something on your work surface before you do this, because these little things are tiny and they tend to bounce, and if they bounce they might break. Pull the needle back before screwing it on, just to make sure you don't ding the needle, like so. Now you can unscrew the back here. This nut here controls how stiff it is when you pull back your lever. this nut here unscrews so you can remove the needle. Now you probably can't see it on camera, but there is most likely some dirt on there, so wipe it off. If you've got something on there and you really can't seem to get it off, a little bit of nail polish remover can be used, and that will do it. Be very careful when cleaning a needle. You don't want to bend it, drop it, or ding it in any way. And be very careful when you're putting it back in. Use a finger to balance. Gently slide it in. Don't force it. And then when it's reached its full stop, you just tighten it back up. You can check that it's all working again by putting some water in. So I'll just put a couple of drops in here. Switch this on. Air is coming out. The water is coming out, and it's coming out clean. So my airbrush is clean. And turn that off and allow it to air dry. I've established that you can use it on tile. This is now dried, so for decorative purposes this would be perfectly fine. And I've demonstrated that you can use it in a cheap and cheerful airbrush, and if you can use it in one of those, you can use it in most. One thing that I will say is that airbrushes come with different needle sizes. Now this being a makeup airbrush, it has a large needle size, which enables you to put slightly thicker things through it. So if you are going to look for an airbrush and you want to spray metallics, I would advise a larger needle size rather than a small one. If you're looking for an airbrush, I would also recommend a double action, one where you have to press the button down to get air and then pull back for paint because it's more accurate. This is fine for just doing this kind of thing. It's obviously perfectly alright for that, but if you want a little more control, then that's a good way to go. For general card making, I would suggest go for one which has a very small cut, because you really don't have to bother to clean out a huge great cut when you're only using a tiny drop of paint in the bottom of it. And you can get a version of this type of mini compressor, which is probably much better made than this one. I will link to that below because my son has bought a different one. He says it's really nice. But they come with the airbrush as part of the kit generally. So the one that my son got has actually got a dual action airbrush on it. I've done some colour swatches here on black. If you wanted to, you could use these in your airbrush and use them for nail art. Since people always put a base coat on and a top coat on, it doesn't make any difference that these are craft paints from that point of view. And you could always use them for stamping if you added a little glue to them to help them be tacky. You'll find that all these colours are really great fun for your craft projects. If you'd like to see some more of my videos, I will be linking them here. And I hope to see you again soon. Take care now.